Today of two key members of President Donald Trump's inner circle during the 2016 campaign. Good evening. I'm Todd McDermott. Thank you for joining us. President Trump's longtime personal lawyer, Michael Cohen, pleaded guilty today to illegally paying hush money to silence two women who claimed they had affairs with Donald Trump. And Cohen said he did it at the direction of Donald Trump to protect the campaign and the candidate just weeks before the presidential election. Also tonight, former Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort, now a convicted felon, facing decades of prison time for felony tax fraud and bank fraud. We have team coverage tonight. We're going to begin with Aixa Diaz from Washington, D.C. Aixa.
Todd, President Trump says he feels badly for both Michael Cohen and Paul Manafort, who now becomes the first person convicted as a result of the special counsel's Russia probe. An explosive day in two separate courtrooms, guilty pleas from Michael Cohen and a conviction for Paul Manafort.
It's a witch hunt and it's a disgrace.
Cohen pleading guilty to campaign finance charges in New York. The president's former attorney says he made hush money payments to two women in 2016 at the direction of then candidate Donald Trump.
He worked to pay money to silence two women who had information that he believed would be detrimental to the 2016 campaign.
In Northern Virginia, a jury finding President Trump's former campaign chairman guilty of tax and bank fraud, convicting him on 8 out of 18 counts.
Mr. Manafort is disappointed of not getting acquittals all the way through.
The 3-week trial centered around Manafort's political consulting work in Ukraine and not his work with the Trump campaign.
Where is the collusion? You know, they're still looking for collusion. Where is the collusion?
President Trump's attorney, Rudy Giuliani, says there are no allegations of wrongdoing by the president in the government's charges against Cohen. With more now on those Cohen documents, here's Chief National Investigative Correspondent Mark Albert.
This is what's called an information. A defendant, in this case Michael Cohen, agreeing to waive an indictment by grand jury of his peers and not contest prosecutors submitting this to the court. Cohen's signature is on this waiver. The documents spell out in painstaking detail what Cohen now says he did, violating federal law by making a $130,000 payment to Stormy Daniels and a $150,000 payment to Karen McDougal, both of whom claim affairs with Donald Trump, to buy their silence just before the 2016 election and, quote, thereby influence that election. All in cooperation, consultation, and concert with the campaign, prosecutors explain. As part of his plea, Cohen agreed to 7 pages of restrictions in order to be released from custody pending sentencing. He posted a $500,000 bond, has to surrender his passport and any firearms, and cannot travel outside of 5 areas, including New York and D.C. The judge set a sentencing date for December 12th. In Washington, I'm Chief National Investigative Correspondent Mark Albert.
Meanwhile, also tonight, a California congressman and his wife have been indicted on charges alleging he misused more than $250,000 in campaign funds. House Speaker Paul Ryan now says that Congressman Duncan Hunter will be removed from his committee assignments. Federal prosecutors say Hunter and his wife used the campaign funds to finance family trips and other expenses that attempted to disguise illegal spending on federal records. He was the second member of Congress to endorse Donald Trump for president. The first man, Chris Collins, was also indicted on insider trading charges. A neighbor says it sounded like an explosion when a car slammed into a Port St. Lucie home while a family of 4 slept inside. It happened just before 11 o'clock last night. 24 hours later, we talk with a neighbor and hear the 911 call made by a woman in that house in the seconds after the crash. Ari Height joins us live tonight with the story. Ari?
Todd, police say this was an absolute miracle that nobody was injured here. This car hit the house so hard, the entire car wound up in the living room.
I heard a car speeding all around the corner. Next thing I heard, it sounded 2 explosions and a crash.
And the next thing the residents of this house knew, there was a car inside their home. This is just before 11 o'clock Monday night in the 500 block of Northeast Twilight Terrace in Port St. Lucie. A family of 4 lives here. Mom called 911.
I just woke up and they're in my house. It was the cars all crushed up in my house. And the car's inside your house? Yes, the car's in my house.
Joseph Padalano lives next door. He heard the crash and ran to help.
By that time, water was everywhere, sparks were flying. I climbed over the debris and moved some of the concrete and the bathroom structure. and I picked up the toddler and handed him to my daughter.
Padalano says he also carried an infant out of the home. Somehow, nobody was injured, despite the fact the car plowed directly through the living room.
We went up over the front lawn and into the home, passing the homeowner right on the couch of his armrest, and then pushed half of the house out the back side of the property.
Police say the driver was drunk and blew right through a stop sign.
I wasn't thinking of anything. My concern was making sure that everybody was okay and out of the home before anything further, before anybody was hurt.
Police have identified the driver of that car as Samuel Masucci, 21 years old. He was arrested. He is now charged with DUI. We're live tonight. Ari Height, WPBF 25 News.
Okay, Ari, thank you. Let's talk about the weather. Boy, it's nice today, nice tonight. Tomorrow, some changes coming. More about that in a second. You're looking live, by the way, at the historic Jupiter Lighthouse. Partly cloudy skies right now in Jupiter, where it's warm. Currently 81 degrees, the dew point 72, so it feels like 85 degrees. 78 up the road in Port St. Lucie. In Boca, current temperature 83, and around the lake, current readings right now in the upper range of the 70s. Here's a look at the satellite radar composite. Yesterday, the rain. Today, the sun. And tonight, just mostly clear skies. As you can see, a couple of showers around Lake Okeechobee, but other than a stray shower during the overnight hours, it's mostly about the heat overnight, with temperatures just dropping a bit into the upper range of the 70s. But a bit more rain in the forecast for tomorrow, especially for the Treasure Coast. Then everybody gets wet toward the end of the week. We'll talk about that when I'm back, Todd, with South Florida's certified most accurate forecast in a couple minutes.
Mike, thank you. A device designed to monitor the algae levels in Lake Okeechobee is now up and running. Scientists with Florida Atlantic University installed that device, which is called a sea prism, about 2 weeks ago. The data collected from the device will help scientists determine how much and what type of algae is actually in the water.
The instrument is recording data internally at the moment, so we will have to get out there and download the data to see what it has been recording. But from the satellite images I've seen, there are still lots of blue-green algae in the lake, and so we should be seeing that in the Sea Prism data once we get a chance to look at it.
Toxic blue-green algae continues to plague Treasure Coast waterways. Researchers believe constant measurement of exactly how much algae is in the lake water could help determine a schedule for water releases from Lake O into the St. Lucie River estuary. Protesters on the Treasure Coast today called on Martin County commissioners to ban the use of Roundup weed killer. They believe that weed killer contributes to the spread of toxic algae. The active ingredient Roundup is glyphosate, which is a known carcinogen.
Let's ban the use of glyphosate, which is the herbicide in Roundup and some other products, and at least we'll be doing something to retard the toxicity, because that's what I'm afraid of.
County leaders say they would need to conduct more research before considering a ban on the popular Monsanto-made weed killer. However, the county is considering a ban on the use of biosolids. A lot of people believe the sewage sludge, which is used to treat soil, can also cause algae to grow when there's rain runoff. Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office arrested a man caught on security cameras breaking into 2 homes in 2 different counties. We first showed you this surveillance video from a home in Tequesta a couple of weeks back. Detectives say Jermaine Butts was also driving a stolen vehicle at the time of the crimes. The Sheriff's Office has not released any additional details about the arrest. The St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office credits their helicopter for helping them track down a missing elderly man who was lost. He was picking palmetto berries during the day and got lost in the woods. We're told he doesn't speak English and is also a diabetic. Deputies spotted the man from the air, and the chopper guided a search team to the man to bring him safely out of those woods. The Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office is getting advice from administrators at a local high school in the wake of Friday's shooting outside a high school football game in Wellington. People with the Sheriff's Office recently met with officials at the G-Star School of the Arts in Palm Springs. That school considered one of the safest in the district. The founder and CEO of the school tells us the school's success comes down to laying a foundation you can't put a price on.
We have students that will let us know when things have been posted on Facebook that are threatening, when they hear something, whatever it may be, but it's all done anonymously.
Gray Hopner says there's a promise of anonymity when students make reports, which eliminates the risk of retaliation for them. G-Star also has a secure infrastructure, which includes new fencing and new security cameras. Coming up, flames and explosions, one after another. The firefight in a U.S. oil field that's going on right now. Plus, police confirm they found the body of missing college student Molly Tibbetts. Who the murder suspect is and what he said after his arrest. And a major earthquake just a few miles off the northeast coast of Venezuela. The video as it happens. Mike?
And Todd, speaking of major, check this out. Category 4, this is Hurricane Lane, now less than 400 miles away from Hawaii and the Big Island, just placed under a hurricane warning. The latest on this dangerous storm coming up. You're watching WPBF 25 News. Florida is the Sunshine State, but it's also the lightning capital of the U.S. Here's what to do if you're outdoors in a thunderstorm. Follow the 30-30 rule. If the time between seeing the flash of lightning and hearing the thunder is less than 30 seconds, take shelter. Go indoors or in a hardtop vehicle. Get off the beach and away from pools and lakes. And never use a tree as shelter.
Trust Mike Lyons and the only station certified most accurate. WPBF 25 First Alert Weather.
I'm Belinda Kaiser, businesswoman, conservative Republican, and President Trump's delegate to the Republican Convention. Art and I live here in Hutchinson Island with our 2 dogs. We have deep roots in this community with Kaiser University graduating firefighters, nurses, first responders, and teachers. I will fight to secure the funds to clean our water, protect our Second Amendment, and stand with President Trump on immigration. I'm Belinda Kaiser, and you can believe in me.
The ultimate driving machine. Visit your South Florida BMW centers today for exceptional offers.
I had reached a plateau. I needed to then reinvent myself. I needed the next tool to be able to move, and that tool was having an MBA. Kaiser's online program fit perfectly. I already had a lot of business knowledge, but the MBA program gave me the opportunity to sharpen those skills, and a lot of doors are opening for me. I'm currently an imaging supervisor at one of the premier health systems in South Florida. If you want it, Kaiser University will provide you everything that you need to succeed. My name is Gustavo, and I'm an MBA graduate from Kaiser University.
Joe DiMaggio Children's Hospital Kids World Family Fun Fest is back.
Saturday and Sunday, August 25th and 26th at the South Florida Fairgrounds Expo Center from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. each day. Kids get in free with a kids ticket from adayforkids.com. Experience the coolest bounce houses, rock wall, petting zoo, exotic reptile encounter, gymnastic trampoline and tumble zone, a playland for toddlers, and a mini go-kart racetrack. Mom and dad can even win a trip to the Bahamas courtesy of Bahamas Tourism. Learn more now at adayforkids.com.
We'll see you there.
Next, Ellen, Chadwick Boseman. He's the man tough enough to be Black Panther.
There's no way for me to believe you unless you take your shirt off.
Plus,
Child, this ain't nothing but the devil.
Our online food critic and Jeff Garland.
When I was here, you said, "You want a TV?" They gave me a box that was empty. I never got it.
Yeah, it's too late now.
Tomorrow at 4 on WPBF 25. You're watching WPBF 25 News at 11.
Some former and current lawmakers at the state and federal level want you to vote no on 8 constitutional amendments you may see on your ballot in November. They say those amendments are misleading and could cause harm to the state if approved by voters. Terry Parker is here now to explain why this group is opposing those amendments. Terry?
Every 20 years, Todd, the Florida Constitution Revision Commission meets and then has the unique authority to place proposals directly on the ballot for voters to decide, not lawmakers. For example, they approved Amendment 13, which asks voters if they want to ban greyhound racing. But now some former state lawmakers and members of Congress have announced a campaign to ask voters to vote no to all 8 amendments the CRC approved. The group says the CRC amendments either group controversial topics like charter schools with popular ideas like term limits all into a single amendment, or they deal with issues that the legislature can address itself, like ending greyhound racing.
Because the CRC has been deceptive and their proposals are indeed defective, we must tell the people of Florida that in order to be safe, it is best that we vote no on all of those amendments.
Of the 8 amendments placed on the November ballot by the CRC, 7 are being challenged in court. So far, judges have removed 2 of the proposals from the ballot, though both decisions have now been appealed to higher courts. There are 13 total proposed amendments, 8 advanced by the CRC and 5 supported by the legislature or through petition drives. Each amendment would require support from at least 60% of the voters to be enacted. Todd?
Terry Parker. Thanks, Terry. Tonight in San Antonio, a major fire still burning in an oil field. Large flames producing thick black smoke shot into the sky. Witnesses heard explosions, and there have been more explosions since. It's believed the fire started when a truck driver was hooking up to the tanks. Because the truck wasn't grounded, it caused a spark. It ignited the flames and the oil tanks. The plan for first responders is to now let the tanks burn out, which might take until sometime tomorrow morning at the earliest. Well, tonight, after a month of searching and arrest and the disappearance of Iowa college student Molly Tibbetts, authorities charged Christian Rivera, an undocumented immigrant from Mexico, with first-degree murder. The suspect led them to a rural area where police say he dumped her remains in a cornfield. The University of Iowa student was last spotted going for a run back on July 18th. According to investigators, Rivera followed Molly Tibbetts and chased her when she tried to get away, abducted her just about 10 miles from where she was living.
He ran alongside of her or behind her, and then she took off running. He in turn chased her down.
Authorities revealed the video captured by a neighbor's security camera helped them track down the suspect in the 20-year-old woman's murder. There is no known motive yet. And that's video during a powerful earthquake that shook Venezuela's northeastern coast today, startling people in the capital of Caracas who evacuated buildings. The U.S. Geological Survey put the magnitude of the quake at 7.3. A witness in Comano, one of the biggest cities near the epicenter, says there were initial reports of several injuries at a shopping center. Tremors felt all the way to Bogota, Colombia. A man believed to be the last known Nazi collaborator living in the U.S. was arrested in New York and has now been deported. ICE agents took the 95-year-old into custody Monday night in Queens. He's now been deported to Germany. The White House says after World War II, he hid the fact that he worked as a guard at a concentration camp in Poland where thousands of Jews were slaughtered. He got into the U.S. by claiming he was a farmer and factory worker. A small jet carrying rapper Post Malone landed safely in New York after circling in the air for several hours after blowing 2 tires during takeoff. The famed rapper was on board, having spent last night at the MTV Video Music Awards, where he took home an award for Song of the Year for his hit Rockstar. His Gulfstream 4 was carrying 16 people, taking off just before 11 a.m. from New Jersey's Teterboro Airport, bound for London. The pilot reported trouble and tried to land in Massachusetts, but was diverted back to New York. Post Malone posted a tweet saying, "I landed, guys. Thank you for your prayers." We have some amazing new video tonight of Hawaii's Kilauea volcano. It shows the fissure cones and lava channel created when the volcano erupted back in May. The reddish-brown rock inside the cone is the result of oxidation, and yes, it looks just like the effect similar to rust that forms on metal. The volcano has been quiet recently. The National Park Service is looking to make some short-term repairs right now to allow the reopening of part of Hawaii Volcano's National Park. And Mike, I look at that and I see the steam rising and I think, would I want to go to the park right now?
Probably not.
No.
Not with a hurricane headed their way.
Wow,
in fact,
no.
that island is now under a hurricane warning. And given the latest track from the Hurricane Center advisories coming out of Honolulu tonight, this would be the first hurricane to directly impact the island since 1992, Hurricane Iniki. And it could have a much stronger impact than that.
They're having a rough year.
They're having a terrible year. Let's begin with some pictures from the hurricane hunters. And guess what? They're flying through Hurricane Lane tonight, and boy, did they record a dramatic drop in pressure. It dropped 12 millibars in 2 hours. So far, the winds have not really caught up to that. It's still a strong Category 4, but there's the potential overnight that Lane could become that rare Category 5 storm. Look at the satellite imagery tonight. Here are the islands, and there's this powerful storm just getting closer and closer now, less than 400 miles away from the Big Island. And again, that island now under hurricane warnings. Look at this monster storm, now packing winds of 155 miles per hour. It's moving toward the west-northwest at 9 and should begin to impact the islands perhaps as early as Thursday. It is forecast to weaken some, but it will have a dramatic impact. And look at our latest GFS model, which brings this storm system, as you can see, very close to the islands and then moving right across the chain. The city of Honolulu has never had a hurricane impact. That may change in the coming days. Meanwhile, back here at home, beautiful day across South Florida. It's nice and quiet now. Current temperatures in the 70s and the 80s. 83 in Palm Beach. Current temperature in Lantana is 82. A few other neighborhoods. 80 right now in Fort Pierce and Wellington. 75 degrees. First alert Doppler radar all quiet today. Just one shower in Glades County tonight, but that's going to change starting tomorrow, and especially as we head toward the end of the week. 30% chance tomorrow, increasing to 40 on Thursday and Friday. And unfortunately, the timing for the weekend not good. A trough of low pressure in the Midwest that's been producing record flooding in parts of Wisconsin sinks south and increases our rain chances. Here we are tomorrow. Sea breeze kicks in parts of Palm Beach County around 12:30, but then that rain kind of goes away. I think the bigger impact as we head toward Wednesday will be felt along the Treasure Coast. Here's a look at our future track around 5 o'clock. Storms forming here. Now watch what happens as we go through the early evening hours. Heavy rain, some gusty winds along the Treasure Coast. So most of the rain for the TC come tomorrow. After that, everybody gets wet, especially as we head toward the weekend. So forecast for tonight, looking good, warm and muggy. Temperatures in the mid-70s. Tomorrow, isolated showers, but again, the best coverage for the Treasure Coast, especially late tomorrow afternoon through tomorrow night. High temperature tomorrow, 90 degrees. Your beach, your boating forecasts, perfect. Winds from the southeast, about 5 to 10. Seas running 1 to 2. And your first alert 7-day forecast, it is certified most accurate here in South Florida. Just a light, small chance of rain in Palm Beach County, increasing rain chances for the Treasure Coast tomorrow. Everybody gets a little chance of rain as we head toward Thursday and Friday. And the weekend, at the moment, it looks pretty wet. And Todd, that's your forecast.
Mike, thank you. After more than a century behind bars, the beasts on boxes of animal crackers are roaming free. Mondelez International, the parent company of Nabisco, just redesigned the packaging for Barnum's Animals Crackers. You see, it's Barnum's Animals Crackers. After pressure from the people for the ethical treatment of animals, the new boxes remove any sign of the Barnum and Bailey traveling circus cage you've known all these years. The cookies are now on store shelves. Nabisco has been making animal crackers since 1902. Local brewery owners are hoping state lawmakers will reconsider letting customers bring their dogs into tap rooms. Health officials are cracking down and have sent notices to breweries across the state. The owner of Matthews Brewing Company in Lake Worth says a ban on dogs in the tap room is bad for business.
Now, we have had a couple people come in with their dogs, and we let them know, hey, you can go outside, but you can't be inside unless it's a service dog. And right away, they just paid their tab, and they've left, and they've been irate. So, and then they don't come back. So it does affect the brewery when you tell somebody that they can't bring their dog in here.
That brewery owner plans to sign a petition that's going around the state, started by a brewery owner in Jacksonville, urging lawmakers to pass legislation to allow dogs inside the breweries.
This is from me to you. Kristen, what are you doing in that claw machine?
What do you think I'm doing? I spent $40 trying to get this poop emoji. I did, and then I finally said, screw it, and I climbed in, and now I'm stuck.
All right, well, now you got it.
First Alert Weather is sponsored in part by CMI Air Conditioning and Electrical.
Pursue what drives you today. Audi will cover your first month's lease payment on select models during the summer of Audi sales event.
A rich Russian close to Putin and a big donor to Trump gave $500,000 to Philip Levine's campaign. $500,000. Levine will be beholden to a Russian billionaire, a Russian whose Trump donations are at issue in the Trump-Russia probe. No wonder Levine pandered to Fox, saying,
I think the president's done a very good job. I think the president's done a very good job. Good job. Good job.
Philip Levine, too close to Russians, too much like Trump.
Everyone is searching for the right fit, to blend community, a career-centered focus, and the opportunity to make a difference. Where friendships are formed, and students always come first. Our reputation was built in Florida, a not-for-profit university with over 40 years of history, thousands of graduates, on campus and online, and now with a 100-acre residential campus. This can be your right fit. We are Kaiser University.
This is where we prove German luxury cars are the best in the world. But one day, this Infiniti QX50 showed up. This is not German. With useless technology. Pro-pilot assist? I need no assistance to drive. Stop! I must see VC Turbo. It's like 2 engines in one.
Get out! I drive.
During the Start Your Own Legacy sales event, lease the Infiniti QX50 for $399 a month. Visit your local Infiniti retailer.
I'm Rick Scott, and I approve this message.
You pay for Medicare your entire career. Your parents paid into Medicare their entire lives. But Washington is letting Medicare crumble.
The government says Medicare will become insolvent in the year 2026, 3 years earlier than expected.
Bill Nelson voted to cut $716 billion from Medicare. No wonder it's going bankrupt. Nelson and the politicians in Washington are stealing money from Medicare to pay for other government programs. Stealing from Medicare is unfair.
Pursue what drives you today. Audi will cover your first month's lease payment on select models during the Summer of Audi sales event.
A North Carolina teacher is breaking her silence after she was suspended from her job for posting a video of herself pole dancing at home. Candace Mason is a middle school teacher. She says she's a self-taught pole dancer, does it for exercise and as a form of therapy. She posted a video of her workout on her Facebook profile, and when the school district got wind of it, she was suspended.
I worked so hard to try to make sure I can provide for my daughters, for myself, for our livelihood, to have it jeopardized just for doing something that I'm passionate about.
The school district says she violated policy by uploading that video. At this point, she's suspended with pay pending an investigation. If you always wanted to drive like James Bond, and really, haven't you? In that classic Aston Martin, your dreams may become a reality if you have a lot of cash. The British car maker is teaming up with the production company behind the Bond films to recreate the car from the movies. And I mean the car. James Bond introduced the iconic Aston Martin DB5 in the 1964 film Goldfinger. That model appeared in 6 other Bond movies. There are other cars since, but really, who cares about those? The recreated version will have some of the gadgets made famous in the movies. The catch? Just 25 will be made, and they'll cost about $3.5 million each. Well, here are tonight's winning lottery numbers. Good luck getting your Aston Martin. You're watching WPBF 25 News at 11.
Your routine, your morning, your team. WPBF 25 News Mornings.
Our son Joaquin Oliver was one of the 17 people murdered in Parkland.
Because sadly but true, I cannot protect Joaquin anymore.
We are here, we are suffering, we are in pain.
But we are together, and we're going to keep this fight for the rest of our lives. I really believe that Philip, who is a doer, they can show it. He's part of that team that we're looking for. That's why we're voting for Philip Levine.
And we ask every parent to do the same.
Philip Levine for governor.
The signs are out there. The luxury you deserve is at Mercedes-Benz of Del Rey. Right now, lease a new 2018 Mercedes-Benz GLE 350 for only $579 a month. That's the versatile new GLE, just $579 a month. Get the best for less than you'd expect at Mercedes-Benz of Delray, an AutoNation company. Visit MercedesFLA.com.
It's Mattress Firm's Labor Day sale, and some of our best offers are back. Why? Because Lance from New York asked for them, so we brought them back for everyone. So now you and Lance can take home a free adjustable base with your qualifying mattress purchase. Up to a $699 value, free. Or for a limited time, we drop the price of a king to a queen and a queen to a twin. Plus, every bed is on sale with savings of up to $600. Hurry in today for the Labor Day sale. Your budget stretches further at Mattress Firm.
Who's behind this smear campaign of lies about Belinda Kaiser? Follow the dark money. Big Sugar writes checks to groups like Advancing Florida Agriculture. Then, once laundered, a new check